From UNLV to the Raiders and the Aces, we're jam-packed today on Sin City Beat. The sports capital of the world is popping, and my panel is breaking it all down. Don't go anywhere because Sin City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello there, welcome inside Sin City Beat. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Mike Davis, great to be with you. Now, Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the sports reporters and storytellers leading the charge. On today's show, we're covering all bases, ladies and gentlemen. One, the Raiders pull off a major upset against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, avoiding an 0-2 hole. 2, UNLV football is ranked in the coach's top 25 poll for the first time in program history. And 3, the GOAT here in Las Vegas, A'ja Wilson of the Aces, makes history, becoming the first and only WNBA player ever to score 1,000 points in a single season. So lots to discuss and lots of positivity for a change on today's show. Joining the action today for our panel, we got Ray Brewer, managing editor of the Las Vegas Sun, our very own sports reporter and anchor Vince Sapienza with Fox 5 Las Vegas, and the great Steve Cofield, the host of Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas. Great to have you guys with us. So let's kick this baby off with the silver and black. I'm pretty sure no one saw this one coming. Behind heroics from Max Crosby, Brock Bowers, and Devontae Adams, the Raiders complete the come-from-behind win and take down the Ravens in Baltimore, now pushing Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to 0-2 for the first time since 2015. Now, Ray, you said last week here on Sin City Beat that Minshew had to get the ball to number 17, and boy, did he take your advice to heart. Adams had 9 catches on 12 targets for 110 yards and a touchdown. So, Ray, what does this win mean for the Raiders moving forward?
I think they established a great foundation last week. Their players rose to the occasion and had great games, right? Devontae Adams carried the offenses on his back. Max Crosby had some great plays defensively, big sack late against Lamar Jackson. And you kind of saw how the Raiders, they're still struggling to get their identity running the ball, right? They're like 2 first downs on the ground in 2 games, 2 yards a carry. But they found a way to win, and here we are, 1-1 home opener against the weak Carolina Panthers team. And it all goes back to 17, right? We said last week he's a Hall of Famer. They got him the ball. He got it done. Raiders with a big win. And I told you they love Antonio Pierce. They played for that man. Good victory for the silver and black.
What is this momentum going to mean for the team going forward? Because, I mean, Carolina comes to town, probably going to be 2-1. So how can we parlay this for even more success this season, Steve?
It's crazy how much changes with a win over a good team. And then you start looking at the schedule, you're like, whoa, they can go 5-1. Now, I don't think they will. There'll be some stumbling, but we'll see how they deal with prosperity. I think the most intriguing thing is going to be the offense. Like Ray said, can they get the run game going? Could this be a team that actually has to thrive offensively by throwing 45 times a game?
Yeah.
The fascinating thing about the Raiders is not necessarily that they won, it's how they won. They won in spite of themselves. All summer long, Antonio Pierce says, we're going to run the ball, we're going to be physical. They had 4 rushing yards in the first half.
Right.
That is the opposite of everything Antonio Pierce is looking for. And Ray, to your point, they unlocked Devontae Adams. They finally got him going. But to me, the bigger story was unlocking Brock Bowers. Guys, this guy might be an all-pro today. Week 2, 2 games into his rookie season. He is the real deal. He's just scratching the surface in terms of what the belief is he can do in that room. And now when you look ahead to Carolina, and it's no longer are they going to win? It's by how many. And when you talk about the evolution of this franchise, is this the same old Raiders? Are we going to see the same old silver and black? Regardless of what you think this team is going to be come week 17 and in January, this is the type of game. You can't just win, guys. You have to win in a dominant, convincing fashion to prove you have taken the next step. Because now, after what you saw the little pieces, the little glimmer of hope in that fourth quarter in Baltimore, now can you make it, catch lightning in a bottle, not just once, but now make it, extend it, elongate it, and show this fan base that is dying to not be let down again that you guys are for real?
Well, I think a lot of this is playing 4 quarters of football. I mean, let's not joke ourselves. Early in this game, it was dire, and we were worried about what the possible outcome of this was going to be. But I think this is a typical game where we see why Gardner Minshew is the quarterback and not Aiden O'Connell. He's taking chances. He's throwing the ball. He's making playmakers make plays. So I'm excited about that. Ray, what's your feel? I mean, outlook-wise, you're usually the guy who has your head on straight with this team, with this panel. Tell us how excited, how high, how low should we get?
Well, Vince is talking, and I'm like, well, can we pump the brakes? That's like,
I knew it.
They're not going to win. It's how much are they going to win by?
Absolutely, that has to be.
Listen, Andy Dalton is now starting for Carolina.
Red Rocket.
He's 4-0 all time against the Raiders. The Raiders are still very bad offensively. They can't
If the
run
Red
the ball.
Rifle comes into Vegas and beats the Raiders, this season is off the rails and it's over. There's no question.
We're losing control here.
There is no
The
question.
season's over.
So
It's going to be a close game. Dalton does give them problems, and don't discount the fact that the Panthers feel like their backs are against the wall. There's desperation, and I'm guessing that in the locker room they're like, this Bryce Young sucks.
Yeah.
And now the hope, seriously, and the Raiders were in the same position going to the Ravens game. Everyone's downing them, crushing them. The Panthers are going to come in hungry, and Andy Dalton's a pretty good quarterback.
It feels like one of those games that I already have a pit in my stomach because you feel like it's one of those games you can't lose and you shouldn't lose, but that makes it scary innately.
You've seen
100%. It's well, yeah, definitely.
But you think it's just you don't even have. There's no comprehension in your mind.
It's not necessarily my confidence. It's in that room. There should be no question that this is a victory. It should be, okay, is it going to be a close game? Because if it's a close game, all of a sudden things are going to still be in question. Like, how good is this team? Are you the team in week 1 against LA, or are you the team in the final quarter and a half in Baltimore playing amazing defense and the offense finally showing signs of life? You would hope in Henderson that feeling is of the latter, because if not, then you are not what you thought you are.
Playoff teams don't lose this game. That's the bottom line.
Who do you want in a close game? Gardner Minshew or Andy Dalton?
Neither. But I don't. But right now, at
This
this
is who we got.
Right now, at this moment, I'll
probably
take
Minshew.
Gardner Minshew because you look at the weapons around him. You talk about being the ultimate facilitator. There's no reason that he shouldn't be able to not just win that game, but win convincingly with what's around him.
Hey, even I heard JT the Brick was even suggesting maybe we should trade for Bryce Young. Some of the teams he was talking about trading for Bryce Young. So that's a whole nother story. But yes, listen, if the Raiders are a playoff team, they should be winning against Carolina. But guys, coming up, we're going to be staying on the gridiron because we're going to be talking UNLV football. Barry Odom has this Rebels team cooking, and we love what they're serving up. Stick around. We got more football next.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
All right, welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, the Rebels made history this week as UNLV football appeared in the national rankings for the first time in program history. UNLV football moved up to Division I in 1978, and now they are entering new territory under head coach Barry Odom as they are ranked number 25 in the USA Today coaches poll after moving to 3-0 following a road win against Kansas. Steve Cofield, you were in Kansas City for this game. What does the energy surrounding this team feel like right now?
It's a mixed bag. It's tremendous because I think they feel really good about being top 25. Although, with the current players, I don't think they really have a command of like how big a deal that is because the program just hasn't been good in the long history. But then you hear Barry Odom say, a day and a half after the victory, I put up a picture of skull and crossbones, rat poison, because this stuff can be poisonous. Like I said with the Raiders, prosperity can kill you. Dealing with it is really key if you're going to be an awesome program and an awesome team. Have a great year.
And expectation-wise, seeing how this team is moving forward, 3-0, Barry Odom, look how just getting the right guy, how that can transform a program, the belief of the players, the belief of this whole unit, this team. Where do you think?
What do you got, Ray? You got 4 and 8?
What do you think?
What do you got? You're going to bump it up to 5 and 7?
Even last block, this was supposed to be the positive.
No. I was very nervous that whole time I was talking about the positivity. Ray's over here like shaking.
All I know is I've been around UNLV football forever. Born and raised here, went to games at Sam Boyd.
Yeah.
Every year there's only one question. How could you inch to 6 wins to become bowl eligible? Yeah. Because UNLV football has never played in back-to-back bowl games. They're halfway to 3 to 6, and nobody's mentioned bowl eligibility one time, and nobody's mentioned we have to beat Reno and win the Fremont Cannon. So that tells you just how historic this is. And we've always said that UNLV was a sleeping giant, right?
Yeah.
Great city, great university. Now they got this $25 million Fertitta football complex.
Yeah.
They're playing at Allegiant Stadium. They're the cream of the creme in the Mountain West. And, dude, we could be literally talking about a playoff game against, like, Ole Miss. Bring on Lane Kiffin. And it's super exciting. I do say,
Wow.
Steve, and they got to learn how to throw the ball. This kid could run it.
Let's,
Ricky White is Devontae Adams. We got to get the Cadillac out of the garage.
Okay, first of all, let's not get on. Can we call him this? White Lamar Jackson, Matt Sluka. Is he the best running quarterback in the history of the football program over Randall?
What? Are we getting to
Wow.
that? Do you actually think that? Do you think
No.
I think Randall is the greatest running quarterback in the history of all of football. Even
The
better
fact
than
that it's
Lamar.
even a topic or a conversation
that's
is
crazy.
fascinating because what he's doing, commanding that offense right now, again, to your point, yeah, you would love him to be able to be a little bit more efficient passing, a little bit, but what he's doing on the ground with his legs. And Barry Odom, again, he's going to be in contention for Coach of the Year and things like that. The reason why, the bowl eligibility stuff is not being brought up or beat Reno, they have thoughts of a college football playoff bid. And,
12 teams are going to make it.
3 weeks ago, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, let's see it a little bit. 2 Big 12 wins later on the road, and all of a sudden, that's not so funny anymore. And again, Steve, you were there last night. The energy was different. I'm watching from the Sphere on my phone. People at a UFC event were talking about the Rebels football game that was on national TV, saying, "Did you just see what happened?" There is a conversation. There is an energy here around this team. Since I've been here, which is not as long as you find, gentlemen, but it's different, it's refreshing, and a lot of similarities. You brought up the Ricky White, Devontae Adams. This defense for UNLV is the real deal.
So, Steve, early in the season, has your philosophy, your outlook on this team changed at all? Are you in more belief that they're going to be a top 12 college playoff team, or where's your stance now, seeing a little bit more proof in the pudding?
Yeah, then now that we've seen it, I think they have a better shot. I didn't think they had much of a shot because of the schedule, but they have 4 games coming up against traditional rivals on the road against Oregon State. I think they can take out Syracuse at home, but it's a tough schedule the rest of the way. Now, positive on Sluka, because you're very glass half empty. Positive is they took 6 deep shots, and Odom called the 0 for 6 on that. 3 of them were drops. So he's right there.
Yeah.
And here's what's going to happen. Teams moving forward are not going to let Sluka run.
Right.
Certainly not open the middle of the field.
They're
so what's going to happen? They're going to have
the ball to.
They're going to have a spy, and they're going to force Sluka to pass the ball. But that spy is now going to open things up. Now with a spy on Sluka, how the hell do you double anyone? And if you're going to double someone, it's probably Ricky White, and then you got all these other weapons he can go to.
It's true.
And I still like Sluka, even with the quarterback spy. I still might be a toss of a quarterback advantage.
Right. What do you want to say?
Well, I'm just saying that Friday nights are religious. They should be only high school football. And Barry Odom said that in his presser 2 weeks ago. But how great is it for the program that they're on ESPN Friday night when there's only 2 other games on the docket? It's like this big showcase for why this team from Vegas that everybody loves should be in the playoff.
Listen. Ray, if we were going to get really negative here, we'd start talking about how Barry Odom's already getting different coaching jobs, but we're not going to do that yet because we got to make sure he's staying.
I don't know why you looked at me. that stuff's driving me nuts.
We need Barry Odom to stay here. But listen, this is the positive Sin City Beat. This was supposed to be the fun, exciting Sin City Beat show. Well, we're going to stay with that positivity because next we're going to be talking Aces basketball, specifically A'ja Wilson and the wonders she continues to display on the hardwood. Don't go anywhere. She's a 2-time MVP, a 2-time WNBA champion, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, a 2-time gold medal champion, a 6-time All-Star, 4-time All-WNBA, and let's not even start talking about college because we just don't have enough time, frankly, to go on with all these accolades. But now the best athlete in Las Vegas is adding to her historic resume. Wilson became the first and only player in WNBA history to score 1,000 points in a single season. Vince, when all is said and done, will A'ja Wilson go down as the best player in WNBA history?
She might already be. Her resume is absolutely insane. She was a Hall of Famer before last year, and she just continues to pile on the accolades. Guys, I mean, in terms of the league right now, where it's at its highest popularity it's ever been. I don't know if there's going to be a more dominant player than there is right now, because as the popularity of the game goes up, we're going to see new talent kind of coming in, and maybe you see a better discrepancy of talent throughout the league. So when you talk about pure dominance, I don't think it's going to get any better than A'ja Wilson for some time.
It's pretty remarkable stuff. Where do you guys land on this? A'ja Wilson, best athlete in Las Vegas, 100%. But I mean, all-time WNBA, is she really getting into that territory, especially with what could potentially go on this season with a three-peat?
So
positivity, Ray. Positivity, Ray.
First off, I love A'ja Wilson. We've had her by at the Sun for a photo shoot, and she was like the greatest human being. Talked to us for hours.
Just get to it. Come on.
Her dad was there. I got a daughter. Love it. Is she better than like Max Crosby? Best athlete?
She's the most dominant athlete in Las Vegas, 100% right now. I don't even think that's a question. That's not controversial.
It's not a question.
You think it is?
Max Crosby is a top 3 defensive player in the National Football League.
Exactly, top 3. I think A'ja Wilson, what we've seen all those accolades, you don't think she's the best by far?
No, not by far. I think she's in the group. She's in the group of the best
it's a
athletes.
Conversation, but
she's on the Mount Rushmore of top 4 athletes, but
currently in Vegas. Yeah.
Currently, but I mean, for me, Max Crosby is like Asia's great.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
inside out, is she going to be? Is she Michael Jordan? Is she going to be the best all-time women's basketball
right now
player?
in Las Vegas. I mean, I thought that was pretty like.
No, you were putting her all-time.
Well, I said
Super
Las Vegas.
Diana
That's where
Taurasi.
But now we're saying all-time in WNBA history. I mean, listen, if they get a three-peat this year, if they achieve that, that's going to be one. I mean, then I think it's no questions asked, right?
I don't know about
Steve?
When you're talking about just pure athletes, you're in a completely different stratosphere of questioning. When you talk about the most dominant WNBA player of all time, I think that conversation is leaning towards yes now for her. But in terms of overall athletes, I think that's a completely different conversation.
All time, she's better than Maya Moore was at Maya Moore's peak in Minnesota?
I would say A'ja Wilson is the most dominant player ever to step foot on a WNBA court.
Steve, bring some common sense to the group.
Come on, please.
No, A'ja Wilson's great. And the fact that she could score from the inside and out, and she's just
two-way player, dominant.
And she's so darn competitive. But for me, Maya Moore was the best player of all time.
Steve,
in my humble opinion.
I'm not going to say she's best of all time. We have to see results too. She's in a really interesting situation this year. Best player in the league, most dominant player in the league. Can she drag her team? They're good, but they're not as good as the 2 best teams, the Lynx and the Liberty. So this is one of those years. They had dominant squads, just crushing people. Now they're going to be an underdog going in. Can she take her team to the title? That's kind of where you get into that all-time status.
This would be a crowning year for her, 100%.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this would be a crowning year.
It would mean a lot. And guys, I mean, listen, it's actually apropos that we're kind of transitioning because don't go anywhere. We're going to have some more Sin City Beat after the break, but we're going to be talking about what is the biggest sports story in Vegas right now? What's most important? What has us most excited? Ray's going to get excited for this one. Don't go anywhere. We are having fun today. Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Happy to have this lovely panel with me right now, but I'm going to ask a very, very difficult question to everyone. Today we talked to the Raiders and their big win over the Ravens. Looks promising. They're going to start off the year 2-1 after this weekend with Carolina. We talked about the Rebels and their football organization ranked top 25 for the first time in program history. And of course, we just talked about A'ja Wilson and her continual dominance on the hardwood as she becomes the first player ever to score 1,000 points in a season in the WNBA. So I want to know, what is the biggest sports story right now in Vegas? What is most important? Steve, I'm going to you first.
I think it is UNLV football. The fact that they're out to a 3-0 start, they could be the first group of 5 team in this new playoff setup with 12 teams, 12 schools, to get in. So that's a tremendous story. And then the other part of the story is let's see if Las Vegas, because we love winners, and we love football, let's see if they jump on board. You got a Fresno game coming up in a little over a week, and conference realignment's going on right now. And the Big 12 and the Pac-12 need to see some numbers, I think, to the tune of 35, 40, 45,000. People need to start showing up to Allegiant. In the end, people want the coaching staff to get paid big money, and they want a bigger conference. You have to do your part. You have to invest. I mean, they had $25 ticket specials for the Fresno game.
Yeah.
They're still relatively inexpensive as compared to the Raiders. So I think that is the biggest story, and they've got all these great players and great storylines, and obviously Odom is a tremendous national story.
It's a great thing. And listen, not even SNL's Debbie Downer could be down about what's going on. So Ray, tell me, what is the deal here? What is the biggest, most important topic here in Vegas right now?
Well, everything Steve said about UNLV football ×2 for me, but I will tell you, we didn't mention the Golden Knights, who start training camp, and they are like our beloved franchise, arguably our most beloved franchise. UNLV Running Rebel basketball starts practice on Monday. I sure love them. Before we had the Golden Knights and before we had the Raiders, UNLV basketball was a big deal, especially for kids of my generation. We all wanted to run out of the red carpet. And the Aces, who everybody shows up for, they're going for a third straight WNBA championship. So the fact that we're spending time on this great show talking about how awesome Vegas is and how we have all these great sports options just really screams how cool we are.
It's a beautiful thing.
I would love to disagree with Steve. I do think UNLV is the story, but when you talk about, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, the NFL's king. And when you look at week 2 and the biggest dog on the board was the Raiders by double digits, and they go on the road in a game they probably had no business in when you look at everything about it, and they go and take care of business in spite of themselves, in spite of doing everything they said they needed to do to be successful, they win with defense and throwing the ball, airing it out with Gardner Minshew. As much as I love that UNLV is ranked and seeing their success and Barry Odom and all that stuff, the talk around town continues to be how the Raiders found victory over the Ravens. They stopped the 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson, and now there's a lot of excitement for Legion Stadium Sunday.
Gotta love it. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Ray, Steve, Vince, I'm Mike Davis. We'll see you next time here on Sin City Beat.